Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram Krishna Balaram Jaya Krishna Balaram. Jaya Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Prabhum Sapari Vajrakacharya Ashtotarashata Shishimad His Divine Grace C.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Seva the whole world Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaimudiraye Nashta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Divinity and Divine Service, text number 12. Tat Shaddhadhana Munayo Jnana Vairagya Yuktaya Paschyanti Atmani Chatmanam Bhaktya Shuta Grihitaya Tatshaddhadana Munayo Jnana Vairagya Yuktaya Paschyanti Atmani Chatmanam Bhaktya Shuta Grihitaya Tatshaddhadana Munayo Jnana Vairagya Yuktaya Paschyanti Atmani Chatmanam Bhaktya Shuta Grihitaya Shuddhadana Munayo. Word for meaning. Tat, that. Shraddhadhanaha, seriously inquisitive. Munayaha, sages. Jnana, knowledge. Vairagya, detachment. Yuktaya, well equipped with. Pashyanti, see. Atmani, within himself. Cha, and. Atmanam, the Paramatma. Bhaktya, in devotional service. Shruta, the Vedas. Grihitaya, well received. Translation purport by His Divine Grace C.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. The seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes that absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has heard from the Vedanta Shruti. Please repeat the translation. The seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes that absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has heard from the Vedanta Shruti. Purport. The absolute truth is realized in full by the process of devotional service to the Lord Vasudeva, or the personality of Godhead, who is a full-fledged absolute truth. Brahman is his transcendental bodily effulgence and Paramatma is his partial representation. As such, Brahman or Paramatma realization of the absolute truth is but a partial realization. There are 4 different types of human beings: the karmis, the jnanis, the yogis, and the devotees. The karmis are materialistic, whereas the other 3 are transcendental. The first class transcendentalists are the devotees who have realized the Supreme Person. The second class transcendentalists are those who have partially realized the plenary portion of the Absolute Person. And the third class transcendentalists are those who have barely realized the spiritual focus of the Absolute Person. As stated in the Bhagavad-gita and other Vedic literatures, the Supreme Person is realized by devotional service, which is backed by full knowledge and detachment from material association. We have already discussed the point that devotional service is followed by knowledge and detachment from material association. As Brahman and Paramatma realization are imperfect realizations of the Absolute Truth, so the means of realizing Brahman and Paramatma, that is the paths of Jnana and Yoga, are also imperfect means of realizing the Absolute Truth. Devotional service, which is based on the foreground of full knowledge combined with detachment from material association, and which is fixed by the oral reception of the Vedanta Shruti, is the only perfect method by which the seriously inquisitive student can realize the Absolute Truth. Devotional service is not therefore meant for the less intelligent class of transcendentalists. There are 3 classes of devotees, namely first, second, and third class. The third class devotees are the neophytes who have no knowledge and are not detached from material association, but who are simply attracted by the preliminary process of worshipping the deity in the temple, are called material devotees. Material devotees are more attached to material benefit than transcendental profit. Therefore, one has to make definite progress from the position of material devotional service to the second class devotional position. In the second class position, the devotee can see 4 principles in the devotional line, namely the personality of Godhead, his devotees, the ignorant, and the envious. One has to raise himself at least to the stage of a second class devotee and thus become eligible to know the Absolute Truth. A third class devotee therefore has to receive the instructions of devotional service from the authoritative sources of Bhagavata. The number 1 Bhagavata is the established personality of devotee, and the other Bhagavatam is the message of Godhead. The third class devotee therefore has to go to the personality of devotee in order to learn the instructions of devotional service. Such a personality of devotee is not a professional man who earns his livelihood by the business of Bhagavatam. Such a devotee must be a representative of Shukadeva Goswami, like Suta Goswami, and must preach the cult of devotional service for the all-round benefit of all people. A neophyte devotee has very little taste for hearing from the authorities. Such a neophyte devotee makes a show of hearing from the professional man to satisfy his senses. This sort of hearing and chanting has spoiled the whole thing. So one should be very careful about the faulty process. The holy messages of Godhead as inculcated in the Bhagavad-gita or in the Srimad-Bhagavatam are undoubtedly transcendental subjects. But even though they are so such transcendental matters are not to be received from the professional man who spoils them, as the serpent spoils milk simply by the touch of his tongue. A sincere devotee must therefore be prepared to hear the Vedic literature like the Upanishads, Vedanta and other literatures left by the previous authorities or Goswamis for the benefit of his progress. Without hearing such literatures, one cannot make actual progress. And without hearing and following the instructions, the show of devotional service becomes worthless, and therefore a sort of disturbance in the path of devotional service. Unless, therefore, devotional service is established on the principles of Shruti, Smriti, Purana, or Pancharatra authorities, the make-show of devotional service should at once be rejected. An unauthorized devotee should never be recognized as a pure devotee. By assimilation of such messages from the Vedic literatures, one can see the all-pervading, localized aspect of the personality of Godhead within his own self constantly. This is called samadhi. Dasa and Bhaktivinoda Prabhupada. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in the previous verse, it was explained that the absolute truth is realized by the learned transcendentalists in three stages. That is the Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. So the absolute truth is the personality of Godhead. Even though Brahman and Paramatma are the same features of the personality of Godhead, of the absolute truth, but Bhagavan is the complete realization of the absolute truth. Vadanti tat tattvavidas tattvam yad jnanam advayam. Advayam means it's a non-dual. So Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. So all are absolute truth. But the complete realization of the absolute truth is the Bhagavan realization, the personality of Godhead. So Brahman is the impersonal feature of the absolute truth. Paramatma is the localized aspect of the absolute truth, and Bhagavan is the personality of Godhead. So absolute truth is realized by the process of devotional service. So that's what is explained in this verse, that the seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes that absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has heard from the Vedanta Shruti. So in the Bhagavad-gita, Krishna says that to understand the absolute truth, we have to approach a spiritual master. Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadyakshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattva darshina. So the absolute truth, to realize the absolute truth, first we have to approach a spiritual master. And spiritual master is one who has realized the truth. He is the Tattva Darshina, means he has seen the truth. So only such a person we can approach to understand about the absolute truth. So to realize that absolute truth, so what are the qualifications of a student. So it's explained in this verse that the seriously inquisitive student or sage, tat shraddhadhana munayo. So the qualification to realize the absolute truth is that the student should be seriously inquisitive. Shraddha means inquisitiveness, or also it means the faith, transcendental faith. So it is important to have that inquisitiveness to know about the absolute truth. And so one should be very eager to know about what is the absolute truth. And also he should have faith. So the process of bhakti, actually, it begins with faith. Adav Shraddha. So this Shraddha, if one has Shraddha, he should associate with the devotees. Sadhu Sangha. Adav Shraddha tata Sadhu Sangha. So when one associates with the devotees of Krishna, then actually he can know about Krishna. So just like a person is known by the association he keeps. Just like a person, if he associates with a drunkard, naturally he will become a drunkard. The same way, if we associate with the devotees, naturally we also learn what is, we can understand Krishna in truth. Because Krishna says in Bhagavad-gita, Bhaktya mam abhijanati. We cannot understand Krishna by the mental speculation or by some experiment or research. Only by devotional service we can understand Krishna in truth. So that's why to understand Krishna we have to associate with devotees. And devotees means pure devotees, or at least those who are on the path of the pure devotional process. So it's explained that the Brahman and Paramatma are also features of the absolute truth, but they are incomplete realization of the absolute truth. And even the path and even the process to realize Brahman and Paramatma are imperfect. So Prabhupada explains that there are 4 types of human beings: the karmis, the jnanis, the yogis, and the devotees. So out of these 4, the karmis are materialistic. So karmis want to enjoy this material world. So they engage in fruitive work because their ultimate goal is to satisfy the senses. So they don't know anything beyond that, because they identify with the body, think I am the body. So they have no understanding of soul and there is next life. Then the next level are the jnanis. Jnanis means they have realized that the sense gratification actually will not satisfy me. So they are searching for knowledge. So they engage in seeking knowledge by mental speculation or by doing experiment research, just like the scientists they are engaged in trying to find the truth, but the process is faulty. And then there are the yogis. Yogis means who want to achieve some siddhis. Just like there are different kinds, 8 kinds of siddhis, like anima, lagima, prapti. Like you can achieve very great material perfections. Like you can become smaller than the smallest, you can become bigger than the biggest, you can control living entities. So like this, there are different siddhis. So yogis are interested in achieving these perfections. And finally, there are the devotees. Devotees who are having no material desires. They are free from karma and jnana. They only desire to engage in the loving service of Krishna. So the devotees are actually the topmost transcendentalists among all. So the devotional service, Shri Krishna Balaram ki jai, Jai Kuran ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So the Brahman is the, what is Brahman? Actually, Brahman is the impersonal feature of the Lord. The effulgence emanating from the body of the Lord. That is actually the Brahman. So those who are seeking the Brahman realization, they want to merge into the effulgence which is emanating from the Supreme. And the yogis, they want to realize the Paramatma feature. But actually, the complete feature of the personality of the Absolute Truth is having the full qualities of Sat, Chit and Ananda. So, we can have Sat and Chit by realizing Brahman and Paramatma. But if you want to experience the Ananda or the bliss, we can only realize when we realize the Bhagavan feature of the personality of Godhead. So, and that can be possible only by engaging in the loving service of Krishna. So earlier also it was explained that Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitaha Jnanam Janeti Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayad Ahetukam. By engaging in loving service of Krishna, we develop full knowledge and detachment from material association. So by the process of devotional service, automatically the jnana and vairagya comes. We don't have to separately endeavor for attaining knowledge or the detachment from the matter. So these things automatically follow by simply by engaging in the loving service of Krishna. But the bhakti yoga or the devotional service has to be done by the directions of the scriptures. So it's explained by Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Devotion that Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatri Kim Vina Vidim Vina Ekantiki Harer Bhaktir Utpataiva Kalpate. So anyone who doesn't follow the directions of the Shruti, Smriti, Puranadi, that is the Vedas, Vedas and the Upanishads and the Pancharatra. So anyone who doesn't follow the directions of these scriptures and engages in devotional service, actually it is simply a disturbance in society. So the devotional service, it is not a cheap thing that simply we engage in some sentimental puja. So generally people think that devotional service is for less intelligent people. And only the process of jnana is meant for the elevated souls. But actually that is not the truth. The bhakti process can be followed by all classes of people. But to follow the process of bhakti, we have to follow the directions of the Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. Guru means the bona fide spiritual master. Shastra means the Vedic scriptures. And Sadhu means the devotees or the acharyas in the parampara. So there are different even among devotees there are different stages of devotees. The three classes of devotees. Like there is the first class, second class, and third class devotees. So the first class devotees are simply interested in material benefit. So they think that ultimately God is only in the deity. So they worship the deity and they are not interested in serving the devotees, or they don't offer respect to the devotees. They simply engage in the devotional service, but their desire is to satisfy the senses. And the next stage is the second class devotees are those who can make the distinctions between the personality of Godhead and the non-devotees. Those who are envious and those who are innocent. So they can make these distinctions. And the topmost devotees are the pure devotees who are freed from all the material contaminations, and they are fully fixed in the absolute truth, fully fixed in the devotional service of Krishna. So the neophyte devotees, the third class devotees, it is recommended that they should approach the pure devotees, the topmost devotees. And they should follow the directions of the topmost devotees and hear from the bona fide literatures, Vedic literatures. And in this way, they can gradually come to the second class and then finally to the first class. So so generally neophyte devotees, they make a show of devotional service. So I explained there that so neophyte devotees make a show of hearing from the professional man to satisfy his senses. And this sort of hearing and chanting has spoiled the whole thing. So one should be very careful about the faulty process. So we have to hear the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad-gita from the pure devotees, not from the professional class of people. So nowadays you see there are many professional people who conduct Bhagavata Saptaha, 7 days hearing Bhagavatam. And there are many people who come to hear from them. But the professional reciters of Bhagavatam, they want to make a business of it. So, even though people may hear Bhagavatam from such people, they cannot have a change in their heart. They cannot change their consciousness. They cannot give up sense gratification. So, we should cease from hearing from such professional Bhagavad reciters, because it will not purify our heart. So only when we hear from the pure devotees, the pure souls, who are freed from all kama, krodha, mada, matsara, all the vices, and who have completely controlled their 6 urges, like it's explained in the Nectar of Instruction. What are the qualifications of a spiritual master? So he has controlled all the 6 senses. Vacho vegam, manasa krodha vegam, jivva vegam, udaropastha vegam, etan vegan yo vishahet dhiraha, sarvam apimam prithivim sashishyat. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals, is qualified to make disciples all over the world. So this is the qualification of a person who can actually recite a Bhagavatam. So he should also be a representative of Shukadeva Goswami. He should be coming in the parampara of spiritual masters. So if we hear the Bhagavatam from a professional person, it will actually be of no benefit to us. So example given, like suppose the serpent, when it touches the milk, it only adds to the poison in the milk. The same way, we have to hear the Vedic authorities from the Bhagavata person Bhagavata. We have to hear Bhagavata from the person Bhagavata. Then only we can actually make spiritual progress. Because the ultimate goal is to become free from all contamination, all material desires and lust, greed. We have to become free from that. So we have to follow this process of devotional service, which can actually awaken the love of Godhead. So, like Krishna says in Bhagavad-gita, that Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tattvataha. One who simply understands my birth and activities in truth, he can actually return back to Godhead after giving up this body. So that is the ultimate goal, to become free from material attachments. Unless we become free from material attachment, we can never become free from this, we can never get freedom from this material world. So we have to become detached from this material world by engaging in service of Krishna, and in that way we become more and more attached to Krishna. The more we engage in loving service of Krishna, we become more and more attached to Krishna, and in that way we can become eligible to return back to Godhead, to our original home in the spiritual world. So I'll stop here. Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.